The mind flower. Flowers are the most beautiful things in the plant world. We tentatively say this as we do find that leaves, trunks, and root systems are also pretty. Down-to-earth people have a different opinion. Fruit is more useful for our life. However, from immemorial times, flowers have always been seen as beautiful. Endowed with beauty and fragrance, their grace and delicate charm are nevertheless so short-lived. Once they fade, we cannot bring them back to life. We love flowers probably because they give us such a rich palette of hues, forms, shapes, and fragrances. They don't stay the same in sunny and windy days, in morning and afternoon times, and in spring and autumn. Or do we love them because they are so ephemeral? Their fleeting life makes us appreciate all the more their magnificent beauty, elegance, and perfume that spreads far and wide as the life force within them stretches the stems up high to offer their gift to all. In a short span of time, their vitality will fade away. The petals will soften, wither away, dry out, and fall, leaving in us a nostalgic longing. Flowers are the most beautiful and pure life forms arising from the soil, pebbles, rocks, or mud. For that reason, we tend to compare the most beautiful things to flowers. The names given to the Lankavatara Sutra and the Lotus Sutra probably carry this association. What about us, human beings? What is the most beautiful thing in us? Our mind. Thus, I give this article an apt title, The Mind Flower. We all know that the mind can harbor many states: greed, anger, delusion. You might wonder why I put them all together and see them as flowers with a rich palette of hues and forms. Looking deeply, we realize that all states of the mind are manifestations of impermanence, dependent origination, emptiness, elusive nature, and suchness nature. Thus, the essential nature of all minds is pure and equal. So why do the different states of mind bring us unhappiness and sorrow? The answer is that we get trapped by the outer conditions. As a result, a thought arises in us and we start wanting this and that. We want life to be this way and that way. The way to return to our original pure mind is to let go of thoughts. Then the mind becomes still, motionless. This is the instant, no mind facing external stimuli. Now we get to the next step. How do we achieve this? There are indeed many ways, and it depends on each individual's preference, skills, and circumstances. Life outside us, happiness and sadness, as well as success and failure, are short-lived. They are impermanent and will change. Seeing this, we let go of external life circumstances and are not disturbed by them. When we engage with life, feelings of like and dislike arise in us. As we know that feelings are elusive and change all the time, we do not cling to them. Thus, we crave less and suffer less. The longer discourse on the destruction of craving. As we contemplate and see that everything in the world arises from dependent origination, that their essential nature is empty, that everything is temporary and as false and elusive as things in a dream, we no longer get attached to things in this world and thus achieve liberation. Lay people can observe the 5 precepts. They take great care in having the right intention, the right speech, and the right actions that do not hurt other people. Their mind will be calm, serene, and this slowly leads to attaining a no mind facing external stimuli. We practice observing everything in worldless awareness. In doing so, we do not get attached to anything in the external world and achieve liberation. The Buddha often reminded us not to hold on to generic characteristics, not to hold on to specific characteristics of things. This also leads to a pure mind. The Diamond Sutra teaches, do not dwell on forms, sounds, smells, tastes, touch, or object of mind. Thus the mind is born. Do not dwell on anything. Thus the mind as such is born. A mind that is not attached to anything is the mind as such. This is an empty and still mind that just illumines itself. The 3 doors of liberation taught by the Buddha comprise emptiness samadhi, no form samadhi, and no volition samadhi. They all point to our pure mind, which is devoid of taints and desires. This mind is a completely still mind. Actually, there are many more ways to practice. Once we understand the core ideas, we can choose the practice that suits us. The important thing is to relentlessly practice in everyday life, making it a natural way of life. Then every time we look at our mind, we can see that this pure and luminous mind is there even though we can only maintain it for a few seconds or a few minutes. When one's mind is empty and pure, the sharp cognition is illumining that mind. If at that moment one turns to the scenery outside, one will see that the scenery is just as such. Liberation comes right at that moment. Then life is so free and joyful. One no longer feels one has to strenuously swim upstream. Instead, one is gliding effortlessly on the sea of life and in space. Masters Hall, November 9th, 2020. Triệt Như.